Welcome to another edition of Around the Block with Jefferson Nunn, and I'm here today with very special guest, Yael Tamar with SolidBlock. How are you doing today?
Great, thank you. How are you, Jefferson?
Doing well, doing well. So, yeah, I've been looking a little bit about your website, and it looks fantastic. Something about transforming real estate into digital shares. Tell me more.
Of course. So, real estate, as you know, is an antiquated, or as you probably know, is an antiquated industry that takes a long time to kind of move and change with technology. So it has quite a few issues. One of which is the lack of liquidity. So if you invest in real estate, it takes a long time to see the money. And so, it's not accessible, this type of investment, to many investors because of that. And with blockchain, we get a lot of liquidity and flexibility in the financial markets, which could be used for a variety of other assets on top of cryptocurrencies, right? And so real estate is a prime candidate for innovation and liquidity with blockchain because it really needs it, right? So that's what SolidBlock does. We enable liquidity by tokenizing real estate, basically putting real estate cap table or asset cap table on the blockchain, which lets investors, trade or collateralize their tokens to get access to loans, and just basically creates many opportunities within the real estate space for finance.
That sounds fantastic. Well, along those same lines, I mean, would it be possible for somebody to basically own a part of their apartment, for example? Let's say that apartment was up on uh, your website. Would they be able to buy like 100 shares of their own apartment?
You can, and that likely will happen in the near future, where you will be able to tokenize your, the owner of the apartment will tokenize, and you'll be able to acquire a piece of the home where you live and maybe get rent discounts, right? So that's certainly possible. Right now, I think the best candidates for tokenization are large commercial assets, because they're easier to appraise, and they're kind of will be more liquid than an apartment, especially if it's say a relatively unknown market, right? So for you to be able to kind of benefit from tradability and liquidity, you need to have an asset that would trade. As you know, or as you probably know, the small cap stocks on NASDAQ or other markets are not trading very well, right? So it's always, the markets are always looking for scale.
Right, right. Yeah, I was just thinking apartments because there seems to be a whole rash of apartment buildings, at least in the city that I'm in. They put up some 10 or 15 different complexes and more are coming, I'm sure. You got to go up as well as out, right? So that's why I was thinking, I'm sure some of these builders are looking for more liquidity, and I think we'll probably see more of that in these upcoming years. So you mentioned a variety of different projects. So what are the projects that you think are that you see are most likely to try your platform?
So basically commercial assets, and beyond real estate, we also see some real world assets that are good for tokenization, and that's kind of what companies are keeping on their balance sheets, or what large financial institutions are keeping on their balance sheets, right? So it could be commodities, it could be private equity, it could be equipment, things like that, right? So all of that could be tokenized to take advantage of liquidity and the financing opportunities, right? So in general, yielding assets are probably, large commercial yielding assets are probably the best candidates for tokenization, because it's a very straightforward transaction. You're buying in to get returns, right? And there is a relative security because or a lower risk, I guess, because it's an existing yielding asset. But we've seen some development projects being tokenized as well, meaning new projects that are in development.
Awesome. Yeah, I was just thinking, I know somebody that had a few thousand acres of land and he was wanting to do something with solar, for example. And so I thought that might be, another excellent opportunity for them to even tokenize a solar project, for example,
Yeah,
on the land.
yeah.
So, because otherwise that land is just sitting there, might as well do something with it. So, all right, well, that's really amazing use of uh, all the technology that has blockchain has to offer, along with traditional finance. But looking to the future, I mean, there's some Web3 projects, there's some metaverses projects. So, where do you see blockchain and crypto and all that going next?
Blockchain and crypto in general. I think right now, so we have kind of evolution, right, of blockchain and DeFi. And what we've seen in the beginning, but even like the language changes, right, over time. So what we've seen in the beginning was cryptocurrencies. Now we're mainly working with crypto assets, which they encompass more than just cryptocurrencies, right? All kinds of tokens, which include utility tokens, security tokens, right? And we've seen like a big evolution towards DeFi because now you have enough of these crypto assets in the world that they become liquid, right? So larger, of course, the ones with larger market cap are most liquid. And so now you can have a market where you lend out money, right? And of course, that's basically based on the premise of liquidity of these assets. So DeFi, decentralized finance, is generally a way to earn a pretty good level of interest outside of a bank, right? Where people's assets are pooled, investors' assets are pooled together and then lent out by institutions, right, or two institutions, and the individual lenders are getting pretty good rate, right? They're getting a rate that a lending institution like a bank would get, which is amazing. So they're not getting like retail lending rates that the bank would give you, right, for putting money in the checking account, like 2% or 3% or whatever. So bottom line is this DeFi trend was dominating the market, right? Not even talking about, let's say, NFTs or metaverse, which are kind of a little bit of a hype. So DeFi is really the biggest trend. And when we're looking at DeFi, a lot of investors are left out right now of the DeFi space. And that's because, they can only hold so much crypto. The majority of their assets, which are well diversified, are not in crypto, right? So, right now there is no good way for institutions or other investors to collateralize assets that are not crypto, but to get the same benefit, right, of the lending. So that's what we are doing. That's but in the next phase of SolidBlock, and I think that the market quickly realized that this is the newest trend because they all are interested in tokenization, ability to collateralize real world assets to access DeFi. And the second biggest trend, I think, is what I mentioned in the beginning, is a small house is not going to have as much liquidity as a large commercial project. So we're going to see aggregation. We're going to see, if you bunch up a lot of homes together, then you'll get a good index that you could probably sell. Now, of course, this version of an index will have likely much better indication than, let's say, this pool of assets that was kind of the reason of a big crisis in 2008, right? That was based on loans. But in this scenario, you will actually own the equity in these homes, right? And use appraisers, individual appraisal to kind of gauge the valuation. So it could be a better product, even for single family homes, but largely I think the most interesting thing is really commercial properties, institutional grade, because they're, have much lower risk level attached to them. So if you try to go to like a risk rating agency like Fitch or like Morningstar and stuff like that, then they would likely give a better rate to an index that has this institutional quality.
Yeah, that's amazing and very insightful. So how did you come across the crypto space? Was it in so what was your first foray into the space?
So that was basically around 2016. Before that, I was in a highly regulated industry, finance. I was working, creating structured products, but from traditional publicly traded funds. And then I had to, I was forced to leave, I guess, in 2016 after a money laundering incident in our firm. And so obviously not by me, and I started my marketing company then, because and even in the early 2010s I was pioneering marketing for institutions, kind of social media and digital marketing for institutions, which was like the first time that they would start having a LinkedIn account, Facebook account, the traditional Web 2.0, right? So I kind of pioneered Web 2.0 for institutions, right, in Israel at least. So I opened a marketing agency focused on kind of larger companies and so on, and I was having these problems paying my employees overseas. And so I discovered blockchain at that time because I couldn't really deal with blockchain before working in that environment. So I discovered Bitcoin, for payments. And I was amazed. And then from then on, I decided that's it. I'm only doing blockchain and nothing else. And so I was marketing for blockchain companies, and also I was doing blockchain transformation, meaning consulting firms how to introduce blockchain. And so in 2018, I wanted to go back to being an entrepreneur. And then I specifically with ICOs, I was kind of upset at that time with the amount of scam and the fact that kind of it was outside of regulation. And I thought to myself, if only, why don't we use the same mechanism for securities, right? Why don't we sell securities on the blockchain? And so I went and I researched, and I opened a company, and then I went and I researched, the space, and I found SolidBlock, which was founded by my co-founder, Yuval Ritzberger. And we joined forces, and that's how SolidBlock started.
Wow, that's an amazing growth story, and I think it's very interesting. A lot of the new folks that are coming into the space, they're wondering, what opportunities might be out there for them. What would you say to somebody that's just now approaching and wanting to learn more? What should be the first thing that they should do?
Two things. They can, number one, go to our podcast, which is called Block Solid. A lot of industry information there. So some on real estate, tokenization, some on blockchain and security and things like that. We also have a very vibrant blog on the website, solidblock.co. And we also have a course called Tokenization 101, and I'm happy to give a 20% discount to anybody listening here, and I'll give you a discount code.
Oh, thank you. That's going to be fantastic. That information will be at the top of the podcast page for our listeners. So amazing. Well, do you have any final thoughts or tips to share with our listeners?
I just want to say, tokenization is the future in my opinion, and I would love to hear if anybody here agrees or thinks otherwise. I'm on @Yael Tamar on Twitter, on LinkedIn, everywhere, and I'm hopeful that you will diversify your investments from, let's say, crypto and NFTs into also a security token or some sort of a derivative that will come out. I'm looking forward to making friends that are among your listeners. Yep. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Yael, for coming on the show. It was very informative. So thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely. Have a good day.
Again.